Hey YouTube, 6200 here, back again with another video. And I thought today we could talk a little bit about the status, which is really the death of the provider male, why this is a thing. Um, Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you pretty much are aware that we live in a time and place, especially here in the Western world, where we pay men and women equally, right? So under a policy such as the Equal Pay Act, um, it is nigh impossible, right, to be the de facto provider male where you pay all the bills and your wife stays home, she raises the children. Those days are gone. It's 2024. Um, Now, on a personal note, I would prefer to live that kind of life where I'm the only one that works. My wife is at home, raising the kids, and that's it. But that's just really not the reality for most of us. The economy, especially the global economy, the way in which it operates is for most of us, it requires two people to actually work, especially here in the United States with cost of living. If you want to own a home, two cars in a driveway, the one person, which is more often than not, historically anyway, been the man, the husband, he's the one that's working outside and would have to bring in all the money. Given that we don't live in that kind of environment anymore, where women are going to school far more than men, I believe it's at least across the board a 2-to-1 ratio. For black men specifically, it's even worse than that. I think it's really more about. I think it's closer to 3-to-1. Just in terms of school enrollees, attendance, all that stuff, right? And that plays itself out in the real world. So, as part of my married man advice 101, this is something that I felt was important to discuss. Um, and moreover, specifically, my advice to younger men is don't make that a goal. Don't make it a goal where, in your mind, you put this pressure on yourself to, prove your manhood by paying for everything for your whole family, or even when you meet a young lady, if you want to date, I don't advise it, not here, and you want to pay all the bills, and she's not even your wife. Here's why you shouldn't do that. I referenced the Equal Pay Act. How would you be a provider if you and a woman, right, given the same job, are gonna make the same money? How would you be the provider if she's making the same amount of money, or in many cases, more money than you? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Can you think of any scholarships that um, are just for men, that are designed to put men in a position where they can be the provider? I can't. Um, Quite frankly, there are scholarships and grants for women, for girls, for women and girls, not for men and boys specifically. The scholarships we qualify for, women and girls also qualify for. So where's the advantage? Where's the push to make providers out of men? We just simply don't have that. For me, from my perspective, what that tells me is that that's just no longer the makeup of today's society, right? If we're supposed to be gender equal or gender fluid or all that stuff, um, what is the point of taking on this undue burden that you're not going to get credit for anyway? It's not a good idea, right? And there's more than enough evidence to support it. If I go to the divorce statistics, you can actually find this out anyway. Even go to some law firm websites, and they actually have some of the stats listed right there. Google, use that. You will find this information very easily. But the most divorced, or the profession of that is occupied by the most frequently divorced woman is actually stay-at-home housewife, stay-at-home mom. You can ask yourself why. I mean, I have some ideas about it. Number one, the way in which a stay-at-home mom does her stay-at-home mom duties here in the West is different than the way it's done in the East or other parts of the world, right? If you're a stay-at-home mom, who do you have to talk to other than other stay-at-home moms, right? That you're around children all day or a child all day. That can easily lead to a lot of wives and mothers being stressed and burnt out. And I don't knock that. I think that is a real thing. I think the way in which we do it here is incorrect. In other parts of the world, stay-at-home wives and mothers, because there is a structure of extended family, the women aren't just by themselves with children. They have other women that actually help them. They have their own moms that help them. They have their mother-in-laws that help them, aunts, sisters. So the duty of being a stay-at-home wife and mother is shouldered by many wives and mothers. It's not just one thing. The women keep each other company. The women look out for each other and they keep each other in check on their best behavior, so that they do not disrespect their husbands. They don't live double lives. They don't even have opportunities for that. And in a lot of these cultures, men and women aren't even allowed to fraternize and mingle. Again, boundaries. So it reinforces the position of the stay-at-home wife and mother. So she doesn't really have this opportunity of idling around and looking and interacting and flirting with men. It's just not as free and not as widely available, right? But over here, a woman can do that very easily, and eventually get herself into trouble, and that can often lead to divorce, in which it does, right? Lots of stay-at-home wives end up cheating with neighbors, personal trainers, whomever they meet because they're starved for attention and whatever they said that they didn't get. That is a real thing, unfortunately. The other the other reason I would really kind of harp on is, as a husband, you have, and I know we take a lot of pride in being able to provide for our families. But as I said before, you're not really going to get any credit for that because we don't live in the 1950s or 60s or any older time where men were celebrated doing this kind of thing. You try to pay all the bills, you're going to work yourself to death. Back in the 50s, 60s, and all those other times, men died a lot earlier in their life. And most men simply didn't have higher education to sit in some fancy office. Most men were outside working. And that's, they were at factories, uh, just doing just outside work, digging up the ground, building skyscrapers, so on and so forth, farming, right, mining. Um, these are not jobs that men occupied and expected to live a long life, but their wives and children benefited from this kind of work. And there was a lot of pride brought to the family because the husband and father was out doing real grunt work, right? We live in a society where women and even some men simply just don't even appreciate that. We look at construction workers and just drive right by them, right? Miners are not really a thing, not in the cosmopolitan metro area, so nobody really thinks about where the minerals come from. People mine that stuff, but we don't think about it, right? There's no more prestige associated with men that damn near kill themselves to pay bills. It's just not a thing. And when you when you total all this stuff up, right, the lack of prestige, the lack of respect, the lack of appreciation, um, being asked to do more, being asked to pay for everything while at the same time not getting the credit for it, working and living under a policy where men and women are supposed to make equal amounts. What I ask you, what is the point? Why try to be uh, a provider. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying you shouldn't look to provide for yourself or you shouldn't look to contribute to the home. That's not what I'm saying. You absolutely need to take care of yourself. You absolutely need to do that. You absolutely need to contribute to the home. It's still an important part of your duty as an adult, especially if you're going to be a husband and going to be a father. These are not duties that you can just, run away from. You still have responsibilities. But what I am questioning is, what is the point of being the one to fall on your sword if no one's going to notice your sacrifice? That's the question. And I haven't really heard anyone answer that question. No one's addressed it. Everyone talks about what women want, what women value. No one talks about what men want, what we value. And to that end, I say the role of sacrificial lamb, that's dead. That's over. We are at a time, gentlemen, where you need to reassess your life. You really need to reassess your purpose. As long as, say, feminism has been around or has been boiling in the works before it was deployed and released into the wild to take its effect, women were given this opportunity to change their role, their position, to take their effect on society. Well, if you believe in physics, mathematics, chemistry, anything science related, right? Just anything that makes sense. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If one gender or one half of the population is given the opportunity to reassess their function, wouldn't the other, right? It's only fair. Why would women be able to reassess their role and disregard their historical role of being mothers and wives, nurturers, in order to, instead of working internally, to now work externally, right? Wouldn't that have an effect on you, right? That means work is not being done in the home. That's gonna affect the man, the husband, the dad, because he normally works outside the home. Where we are, gentlemen, is we're at a crossroads where we can essentially redefine or reassess. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to live like a man. I'm a man. I always want to be a man. But given that my counterpart no longer wants to sacrifice herself for the greater good, why am I sacrificing myself? And when I say, why am I sacrificing myself, I mean, you younger gentlemen, what are you sacrificing yourselves for? The women in your age group that you would look to marry, they're not trying to sacrifice themselves. They've learned from the women in my generation, who've learned from the women, and I'm a millennial. I'm the oldest millennial, right? Bordering on Gen X. Um, they've learned from the women in Gen X. The women in Gen X got this from the boomer generation, right? There's no more sacrifice as a woman. So why would you feel the need to sacrifice yourself as a man? This is a unique opportunity, guys. Unique opportunity to reassess the direction of your life, how you want to live your life. Because guess what? Feminism might have liberated women, but I think it's liberated men too, in some small way. So, gentlemen, with that, it's the end of the video. 6200 here, just with I guess you can say a little bit of a thought session. Think about it. Think about what you want out of life, not what women expect of you. That's my advice to you. Use this opportunity to do just that. 6200 out. Thanks for listening.